evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Red Zone, our leftist sports show, sometimes hosted by me, but all the time hosted by these two very lovely gentlemen. Two people that I am definitely jealous of. One has a brilliant head of hair that I already discussed on the This Is Revolution podcast this Saturday. And another has a magnificent beard that I am also extremely jealous of. Not that I can't grow a beard like that, it's that I don't have the patience to grow a beard like that. And I like soup. And once you have a beard like that, you will never, ever eat soup. PMC says, I couldn't find that track on Bandcamp. You know why, PMC? Because it's not on Bandcamp. Some of the music on here I do not release, and that is a song that I did not release. If you would like that song, which is literally called Friday Long Ass Sports Intro, if you email me, I will email you the track. There's a few songs that you can't get on Bandcamp that I have not put out, and listen to that song because it makes me headbang like this, side to side, which was the goal. I was trying to make a side to side headbang song because I was watching Marcus play with his hair. And I thought to myself, man, I'd love to headbang side to side like that. So I made music for my imaginary life as a hair-filled man. And I want to make more, but I can't because I have to create all this content. That being said, let's introduce our wonderful, glorious hair-having hosts, Marcus of the Left Flank Vets, and Matt of You Don't Know History Pod.
What up, everyone?
How's it going? How's it going?
Do this, Marcus.
Hey.
Marcus, do this. Oh, so jealous.
It's beautiful.
I'm a bald front man. Usually bald front men are in like bands that talk about America and are mildly racist.
I feel like too is like you need more face adornment. You're gonna have to lip piercings, nose piercings, some face tats, neck like you got a lot of tattoos, but like if you're gonna be
I don't have like front man.
You need a head tattoo, Ooh.
My ex actually got a head tattoo. She shaved the sides of her head and got a head tattoo.
What was it?
Like, damn, I'll never win.
Can you share like what was
the tattoo?
Yeah.
I think it's she got it after we broke up. I want to say a cock, but that's not.
Like a chicken?
Do you mean a fighting rooster?
Yeah.
They have spurs, and down in your neck of the woods, Jason, they have those fights.
Yeah.
In Chaucer's work, he calls them Chanticleers, which is where Coastal Carolina gets its sports teams' names from.
Yeah, one of those cock. Because I don't want to say like rooster. It's like a, because fiery. She was a fiery performer. That little woman broke more shit all over the world than anyone else. Patrick says you get a lot of Howard Jones comparisons. Yes, on Under Oath's tour bus in 2005, they were like, "Dude, you totally look like Howard Jones." I don't think so. I don't see it. Howard Jones is like Marcus's color, a more chocolatey version.
Any attempt, right? Or that seems like you know how it goes, right? You know what it is.
Oh yeah. Like in LA, no bullshit.
You look like Jimi Hendrix to a lot of people. Like as soon as you pick up a guitar, you know who you remind me of?
Yes, all the time. You remind me of Jimmy. I was like, how? That's impossible.
Yeah. And typically the person saying that is the same skin color as Elon Musk showed us what he was really like underneath all those clothes, which was whiter than me, damn near opaque, blended in with a perfectly painted eggshell wall somewhere in America.
Does this ever? I know neither one of you hang out in LA, but
in LA.
Sorry. Hey, you know what? My life is dope and I do dope shit. So eat a dick.
Oh, be right back.
I'm not gonna argue that, Jason. My life sucks. I live in North Carolina, and I don't do dope shit.
Hey, you are on this show. That is dope shit.
This is the dopest thing I get to do. And then
everybody watching, sometimes whatever it is, you're having a great day, you got to remember, my life is dope and I do dope shit. But I was in LA for a job. I was working for a music festival. That even sounds more dickish. But we would get these really big per diems that were like way too big. And the dude I was working with was a higher up at the company I was at, and which is a pretty big company. And he was like, dude, let's go to Catch, because all the celebrities are going to be there. And sure enough, Mark McGrath was there from Sugar Ray.
Oh, Mark McGrath.
And he came over and hung out with us for a minute, because that's what Mark McGrath does, actually. You could like call him over and he'll like hang with you for a minute. And he remembered shit that kind of fucked my head up, because the guy I was with, who's around Marcus's age, his first concert was Sugar Ray.
Oh, wow.
And so we were talking about it randomly, and
well, that's a funny story. Marcus's first concert was Sugar Ray.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine Marcus?
No.
Columbus.
Say too, it's like, yeah. Can we make your mom jokes? I was gonna say, it's like, yeah, your mom's first date, but like, I don't know if that's still cool anymore.
I want that to get all over the internet, that Marcus's first concert.
Hey, if Riviera's here, she'll make it happen.
Why? Do they still do anything?
Marcus is just getting down to that song. Like, that dude's feeling it to his bones.
Can you imagine? Fly comes on at a bar and he just pushes motherfuckers out of the way. He's like, shit, this is my shit.
This is my fucking shit. Now I'm just gonna do it. No, the Pete Buttigieg song, High Hopes.
Oh. Like the kids song?
No.
Like high hopes.
No. High hopes for living.
Oh God.
Yeah, that song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I heard that song in the wild. Like the campaign did their thing, and then I heard that song in the wild at the grocery store, and I was like, yeah.
This is fucking.
I was like, this motherfucker lost.
And now I have to get a Sugar Ray drop on the thing for Saturday when you come on Saturday.
Oh, dude, yeah. Just make sure it's like that opening part of Fly that you can barely understand any of the lyrics. Just that part.
That was like what, that was like all like 90s like music though.
That was your shit, dude. That and Chubbawamba.
Oh my god. Oh my god. How do you even remember these things?
That's your workout music.
No.
I played Power Walking in DC.
Power Walking. I get knocked down. Pushing Brianna Joy Gray out of the fucking
way. Use me. Gotta make the metro.
Oh my god! It's
watching the show.
It's good we're getting the laughs out now, because like there's like not a lot of funny shit to
No, you actually crafted a very informative and very depressing syllabus of topics to cover. But also, I want everyone to know.
You'd be surprised how many people love the crack.
I forgot to say it on the intro. This Friday, movie night for patrons. We will be watching Fly By Night. And I want people to chime in and say, pause it. We're not going to watch that shit all the way through, because I'm going to be pausing it in the movie and asking you guys questions about what the fuck we are seeing. And I am going to add an extra movie night where I bring either Mac or Marcus on, or Teray, or all of them, and we watch movies from my childhood of the 80s, like the scene that I sent these two guys from Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Oh yeah, that one.
I'd
watch that.
Yeah, I would too. I'd be down with that.
I'd way much rather watch like some dumbass like action flick, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I can't do Fly By Night, Jason. After speaking to my legal representative, Marcus, he did caution me about doing it, and they gave me great legal advice to lean into my Fifth Amendment right to not implicate myself and just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, it's just so offensive to rap music in general.
It's offensive to fucking humanity, dude. Like, it's just a bad movie.
I just can't wait for people to watch the scene where they just where the white mom yells at the black kids, "I think your music is trash."
You'd be surprised how many people love the crack.
Oh yeah, bitch. Well, moving on.
We learned a lot today. Fly By Night may be the worst movie ever made. Marcus is a Sugar Ray stan, and he does enjoy dancing in supermarkets. So that's
how could you not? I do. I'm looking forward to like the very, very serious show in the future, in which case Jason does want to hit some sound button and then accidentally hits you don't have no idea how many people love the crack, you know?
You're surprised how many people love the crack.
Yeah.
I wanted to put even more drops from that movie in, but now I'm rediscovering more shitty movies from my childhood. So the drops will be more ridiculous. Like the Eat a Bowl of Fuck drop is from Night of the Demons, another movie that I love. I love too much.
Marcus almost lost his hazelnut IPA out of his nose.
Hazelnut IPA.
I'm only drinking the Blue Ribbon winner, so
you can't see anything because it's like.
Yeah, we'll take you. Yeah, you're drinking a Mirage.
Yeah, is this PBR here or not?
It's PBR, or is it?
Well, let's talk about
almost
Dodgers
end
Stadium.
Of the month, and Mac is broke. Indeed, that's why there's PBR in this house.
Mac, let's talk about Dodger Stadium and their
Yes.
concessions union, because Dodger Stadium has a storied history of being a sad place.
Yes. It also has a history of, I don't know, when Branch Rickey moved the Dodgers west, I would say that he was the precursor to what we would call gentrification, you know, white folks moving
to say
into,
the least.
Yeah, a community where he has no business being, and then gobbling up huge amounts of property. And that's what Chavez Ravine is, and that's for the layperson, that is where Dodger Stadium is. It is the hottest piece of real estate left in Los Angeles, I would say.
That area is very different.
Yeah. But Unite Here 11 is the union that represents the concession workers there. It also represents concession workers in Angel Stadium as well, I did learn. But they have been trying to negotiate a contract, and the organization that runs the concession stands and like the beer stands in Dodger Stadium, which is actually a restaurant group, believe it or not, has been kind of dragging its feet. So the concessionaires were like, we're just going to go on strike, the day before the All-Star Game festivities begin. And that scared the company. And they were like, okay, so why don't you call the attorneys and the reps up and we'll get our people out there and we'll start negotiating. And so they essentially called the strike off, right? It just took the threat of a strike during All-Star Game weekend, this is the first time Los Angeles has held the All-Star Game since 1980, believe it or not.
So 42 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is really nuts because like multiple cities have held it multiple times since then. But
do you think it's a situation? I mean, I couldn't even explain. They don't care about traffic in LA. They had a Super Bowl there, so
I honestly don't know. Like for me, the Dodgers have kind of had a resurgence in popularity in the last 10 years because they have been a successful organization, especially since Magic Johnson and that ownership group took over. Like I would have plopped it down there a couple times. Like you're in LA during fucking July. I would rather be in LA during July than like Miami in July, where I don't give a shit if you're giving me like front row tickets, first baseline. I'm not going to watch the All-Star Game in Miami in an outdoor stadium in this time of the year. I will die from dehydration from sweating so much, and the beer would be like $58 a can. And I can't.
Wasn't there one in Cincinnati? Didn't Three Rivers have one?
Well, yeah, the Three Rivers did have one, but they put at an All-Star Game there when the Great American Ballpark opened, like their new stadium.
Okay.
So, but I mean, this is important because, like, for me, I think this is going to see a lot more concessionaires and people who work concessions at a lot of these big venues. Mm-hmm. Like, this showed that they actually have leverage here. Like, you can leverage, hey, we'll just disrupt your season. Because what fan wants to go watch a game where they easily get a beer or food or, hit the team store, like, literally, like, who wants to go to that venue?
That's like one of those things.
Between concessionaires, there's no separation between people that are in standalone stores and guys walking around hawking peanuts. They're all the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally at Dodger Stadium's one of the only stadiums that does this, where like a restaurant group runs concessions for the Dodgers. A lot of other stadiums have independent people that are independent contractors, that aren't beholden to the team per se and can be let go at will. But for a lot of teams, they think that's, cheaper. But this is the Dodgers, who are no expense. They only had one draft pick yesterday in the MLB draft on the first day, where they had like 500 rounds because they're so far over the salary cap. So they found it easier to work with a restaurant group. I mean, let's face it, it's LA. You want to put the glamorous face forward. You don't want like me giving you a hot dog in the fourth row, from the third baseline.
I figured they use Levy like everybody else. I mean, Levy is in. I worked for Levy. I did contract work for Levy. I turned down a job to do. Where's those people in San Francisco now? The Warriors, world champions.
Yes, world champions.
I turned in a job to do that. To be poor and play music. But Levy was they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's another company that even they contract through where most stadiums get their employees. That's definitely non-union. Oh, what's the name of them?
I mean, this is.
They're the ones that do a lot of prison shit too.
Yeah, I mean, Sodexo.
No, keep going.
Sodexo is the biggest one I know. They do a lot of prison work, and you know where they also have made a lot of inroads? College campuses.
In the stadiums or just
military?
In the campuses?
Yeah. So, but I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I can see more like workers like, you know what, dude, like those fuckers in LA had the right idea. Let's just disrupt the season, and then they could push for, better wages, maybe some health care. I don't know. But like for me, I think this is great. I wish they would have went on strike, even with negotiations going on.
Well, I think like with this, I mean, I think there's an argument of even saying too is like this can tie into a lot of like the service. I think like I've been saying this before too. It's like service industry, needs to find ways, and I think it is. I think like Starbucks is one of the huge ones. It's worth understanding some of the dynamics that allows like these Starbucks stores to unionize, and just having like a small workforce is going by store. So doing a whole stadium, that's like, I don't know, Mac, if you if you even have the numbers on like how many people are doing concessions at the Dodger Stadium, but
No, I couldn't.
Probably.
I actually could not
a
find
few
that,
hundred,
but
yeah.
I was gonna say it's probably a very large number because
Yeah.
I know the AAA stadium in Durham employs 200 concessionaires, and that's AAA,
Yeah, it's hundreds.
right? Can you imagine what Chavez Ravine is employing? That's a 60,000 seat stadium.
I would have been in charge of at the Warriors spot a couple hundred point of sale systems, which after you work, Coachella's 1,600 point of sale systems throughout Coachella. Like I was like, oh, a couple hundred, oh, and you're gonna pay me how much? Oh, word.
and you opted to be one of the poors and play music. You know what? I respect
I
it. Though.
opted to go to Brazil and fucking tour favelas in Brazil, man.
And play guitar. He was Bolsonaro's Jimi Hendrix cover band player.
And that's why Jason has had COVID 38 times because Bolsonaro kept coughing on him.
Yeah.
Jair, can you knock it off? Just knock it off.
Going back to the the concession workers and the stadium and everything, and like I think too is like as this connects, this this kind of thing is like it sucks, right? Because like saying, hey, we're not going to go on strike, but they're getting what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important. Understanding their ability, because this is one of those things. If something happens, where they have to start flexing muscle in a short period of time, I think that's beneficial, and that's something that's like talking with some of the BCTGM, like the confectionery workers that I talked to, of like them saying, if you don't do action, like those organizational muscles atrophy, and so even if you don't fight, right, if you just lay back and take all these concessions, over time eventually you don't know how to fight for anything. So it's kind of important that like even the threat of a strike, that's I think in itself, yeah, still good that they say, yeah, we know what our strength is. We know where our power actually lies, and that's not showing up for work. So when it comes down to contract time, like really, like what else? You bring out the biggest guns you got. But at the end of the day, too, is like that popularity too, right? Of like if they don't show up for work for the All-Star game, what is the popular? Are people rallying behind the workers, or are they saying, "Oh, fuck these people, no one wants to work, lazy asses," and all this type of shit? In the United States, I think we know exactly how the public would feel. So I think strategically, they kind of got to say, "We'll serve you your fucking hot dogs and shit."
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. This is the All-Star game. This is something that if the three of us worked 60 hours a week at $30 an hour for 100 years, pooled our resources, and only one of us could afford a ticket like for the weekend, for the Futures game, the Home Run Derby, and the actual All-Star game, right? This game isn't marketed to us. Mm-hmm. It's just like the Super Bowl. It's marketed to rich, wealthy people that can pay $5,000-$6,000 for a fucking ticket, right? So, I mean, I'm with you, Marcus. Like, you knew this All-Star game's coming up. You knew this is your trump card. Like, okay, you want to screw around offering us the contract? Fine. You want to negotiate in good faith? Fine. Guess what? We just won't work the All-Star game because we're not going. Like, LeBron is going. Beyonce and Jay-Z, they're going. Like, all these rich motherfuckers are going, and they expect a certain standard of service that they would not have gotten if Major League Baseball opted to keep the ball rolling and brought in scabs, you know,
You can't do it. You can't do it at that level.
You know,
at that short time, you can't do that. That's a hell of a rollout to try to get done in a couple days. Have fun with that.
That would be a disaster. That would, and that's like that would be the best time to like get a ticket to someplace, because like you'd be able to like walk off with a keg. You got a whole new workforce in a big place like that.
Yeah,
you can walk off with whatever the fuck you want. Yeah,
they had them by
they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, they had them by the short and curlies, as they say, and that was a bit of a power move that they did. But the question is, can that move get traction in the news media and become a story that reverberates? Because like we were talking about, Dodger Stadium is a baseball only stadium. I don't even know if they host any bowl game. I don't even think they host any bowl games.
No, I think that most you get concerts. I think that's the only other use you get.
Yeah, and I don't even know how many people can actually play Dodger Stadium. There's enough big ass venues that are made for music in LA, because remember, when you play a baseball stadium, now you got to bring in a massive PA system along with your massive lighting system that you're probably touring with. So and stadium sound is a whole other ball of wax. So to not have your all-star game, you're going to give these people what they want. But who else has that level of power? Because again, these other stadiums are filled with these massively large employers. I mean, when I say they employ massive amounts of people, these are some of the largest employers in the world.
Yeah.
We're not just talking the Americas, the world. And they have a certain level of power. And I would like to, it'd be awesome if this, caught on.
Well, to answer your question, Jason, the only story I found about, they decided to negotiate was the link I sent you guys on Deadline. It was not covered by like NBC, ABC, CBS. It wasn't covered by ABR. Literally, it was just Deadline, which I believe is an LA-based like indie journalist thing.
Here's the rub, though. See, this might have been something like the union actually like discusses, because if they actually strike, then you get the news coverage.
Yeah.
You don't get the news coverage without the strike. That's not news. And if they strike, what does the news coverage look like for workers that are shitting on the happy day in LA? What does that look like? Because like that's the thing too, is like I think if they actually go on strike and say we're shooting for the fucking moon, like I don't think there's any media, there's no major media that's going to cover that in a good light.
Yeah. I mean, just look at what's happening at the Roastery in Seattle, Starbucks flagship store. All their employees went on strike today, and I haven't seen one positive write-up about it. Not one. Yeah. Even though what they're doing is rad as hell, and solidarity to all our workers out there.
Did you read the story about the closing of Starbucks? They were closing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were saying that it was because of crime.
Or safety, not even just crime. It was overall safety. So it was like crime and this building's falling down, or something's not working inside the building, right? And
then what feels unsafe. That's
happening. I mean, here's the kicker, Marcus. It's the overwhelming majority of the stores that are being closed for crime or safety reasons inside the store. It's like 30 to 35% of those stores all were getting ready to hold a vote to form a union, or had already voted to form a union.
Mm-hmm. Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I worked in Starbucks in downtown San Francisco. It's like,
that is like, you were
in the middle of the whitest people ever.
I know, the hipsterish.
Yes.
The hips,
I was also in the middle of a lot of homeless people that love to steal your tips.
Well, it's capitalism, Jason.
That's the trickle-down economics, if I ever seen it.
Yeah. I mean, that is
trickle-down ass whoopings got handed out there.
Listen, Jason, this
from the top to the bottom in one day.
This is what Reagan wanted. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally the best case of trickle down economics. Only times it existed. Rich people give you a tip. Someone homeless steals it from you. Trickle down.
And then you
That's right.
gotta, shake them
God bless.
like Vanilla Ice out of a window to get your fucking $10 back. It got so bad, my manager looked at me and said, "Next time you do that, can you just take off the smock?"
Hey, man, Jason, take the green vest off. People know where you work when
Yeah.
you're beating up homeless people.
I told one dude, I was like, "Brother, I work 2 jobs to be broke. I can't have you stealing the extra $25 that we all split."
Yeah, he's right. That like this isn't even all my. I'm fighting for others in this cause.
Bro, there's $32 in this jar. There's 9 of us here. I'm getting $4 to take home. I can't even like buy a pack of
Yeah.
smokes.
And I need
Yeah.
all 4 for this SF.
I mean, that's gas to make it home.
I walked home. Gas.
Gas.
Shit.
Practice?
Practice.
Gas?
Start slanging everything, Mac.
But like, just to
it's
put a
just funny,
bow on
man.
this, like we're seeing this huge resurgence of labor in this country. Like
Mhm.
organized labor is coming back. I don't think it'll ever hit what I call like the standard, and by that I mean in the 1920s, right before the Great Depression hit, almost half of American labor was unionized, just under 50%. I don't think we ever hit that number again. Just because so many Americans, especially in red states, have bought into that Ayn Rand, take care of yourself, everything will be okay, trickle down bullshit. But like, if we can hit what we had right before our manufacturing meltdown in the late 60s and early 70s, which was about 30 to 35%, like that is a game changer. That kind of sets a standard for everybody, because you got to think employers were terrified of you going to a unionized shop and making a shit ton of money, so they have to balance out wages to make them comparable. It's like Wild Bill Hawkins said, rising tides lift all boats. So even if you're not a member of the IWW, what we're doing you a favor by negotiating and fighting, and building this organization. And even if you want nothing to do with us, and even if you badmouth us, our work is only going to make your life better.
Well, let me ask you guys this question and asking it to the chat as well. Do you think that you're talking about concessions work, or over here talking about Starbucks? This is all in the service sector, and when we talk about unions in the 20s, we're talking about the industrial sector, which is very, very different. And we're also talking about adults, and more often than not. Can you hear me?
Are you going where I think you're going with this? Because there's been a lot of discourse on this on Twitter the past few days.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we talked about the whole Starbucks thing being like, there's a certain class of person that is working there, and you're also seeing a youth movement with Starbucks, right? And Starbucks is kind of a job these guys aren't going to keep forever. There are people that I've actually known that worked at Starbucks so long they got sabbatical.
Well, the thing is, that's I think that's
Starbucks
good.
Sabbatical.
That point
professors can't even get sabbatical.
The Bucks will hand that shit to you. I mean, that was like 20 years that one worked there. But I mean, do you think that this is a passing fad and a bit of a youth movement that won't stand the test? Because McDonald's aren't unionizing, and I see way more McDonald's as I drive through California from the bottom to the top than I do Starbucks.
Well, I'm with you, Marcus. I'm gonna let you go first, and I'm gonna hop in.
Yeah. So I would say for the McDonald's stuff, McDonald's workers are a lot more tied to the fight for 15. There's been a whole lot more, organizational effort for the minimum wage fight with McDonald's workers, and I think actually like McDonald's would probably be one, like McDonald's workers. And I can't think of another group of workers that have been on for the fight for 15, not just like generally people arguing for it or the organizations, but like, but them, and there's a lot of like the fast food chain workers have been on for the Fight for 15. Not exactly unionization, but workers organizing, something. With the Starbucks workers, so for one, the thing about like them being young and also like you're not gonna have this job forever. I think that's good. I actually think that's fucking fantastic. That's great. Learn how to unionize here, as and whatever you move on to, do the same thing fucking there. You know what I'm saying? Like this is
What?
and wait and like it and like this is anything can go wrong. Like shit can fail. The possibilities are endless.
I'm going to add a caveat to what you're saying before you finish, because you can't finish without this caveat. Just because you leave Starbucks doesn't mean you're going to walk into another retail position. So for all those kids that are going to school, and the majority of the young people I worked with at Starbucks were going to school, let's just say you go from Starbucks to the tech job, which is definitely not having a union. And a big reason why you're not going to care is because you're not making $10 an hour. You're making 100 and some thousand to start. Every need you will ever have is met. You have nap pods, showers, personal trainers. Here's your free MacBook Pro. Do you really think that same kid is going to be like, let's unionize?
That's the thing is this going to be a 100% everyone that enters into a Starbucks union goes on to some other job and starts a union successfully in another job? No, but it'd be silly to even hope that would be the case. Yeah, there's going to be a ton of people who move on and don't do shit. There's going to be a ton of people who move on and get jobs doing like horrible fucking things, making knife missiles for Raytheon. However, there's going to be some people who learn something about the unionization effort, because the thing is, that's what I think is important, is that it is tied to a national thing. It is tied to something greater than the individual stores. That network, maybe it's not just like the Starbucks union, but there are things that are, that can grow out of it. It's like I can't make the predictions of like, whatever it's going to be, but this is a plus, not a minus. If it can be tied to other things and continue to grow, this could be a huge development, potentially.
Yeah, I'm with Marcus on this. It's a huge net positive that younger workers are doing this. And to answer your question, Jason, while they may be getting 6-figure deals, while they may be getting to take a nap in nap pods and getting a free fucking MacBook, do you know what a lot of the younger workers of this country really lean into a lot more than all those perks? And that's a work-life balance, which is awful in the tech sector. It's awful. Look at what just happened. Blizzard Activision, their workers just voted to form a union. Mm-hmm. The largest gaming company on the fucking planet right now, or top 3, I think, right? And it was largely driven by younger workers who are looking to achieve a better work-life balance, which again, tech doesn't offer. It's you give your life to the company, and we work you 19 hours a day. That's why we have the nap pods there. We give you the free MacBooks because, I don't know, we have tracking software in there, so we can see exactly what the fuck you're doing. So if you're not working, you're wrong, and they give you a little message, that inner office message like, hey, Dan, stop watching internet porn, get back to code. Code, bitch, code, right?
Look, I hate to break it to you guys. It's not as simple as just nap pods and MacBooks. It's the idea that when you don't have anything, you have to fight for stuff. And you will be surprised how many people love working 19 hours a day. I got to work with a team of people, and part of your benefit for the place I was at was if you were a lower level customer service person, you could then get to work Coachella. Right?
Hey, yo,
but like
gargle my balls.
Let me finish. I will mute you.
Okay.
Oh.
It seems
God
like a lot.
damn.
You stay in a multi-million-dollar beautiful house with a fucking sleepy river in it, you get an endless supply of alcohol. You can kind of do whatever you want to do. You still got to work. You still got bullshit you have to do. You're probably working, like Max said. He's not lying about 19, 20 hours a day. He's not lying. But your life is paid for. And you can convince yourself that you have a nice live-work balance, because even though you have to work around the clock to make the festival happen, from a dollars and cents perspective, you're literally part of making commerce keep going at this place by where we were working. You have these spoils that you're given at the same time. And they're nothing like the conditions of the other people that are working there. You're really going to look me in the eye and tell me these people are going to be like, well, I was part of a union?
I just have a question. I just got a question. How many people do you think actually enjoy working 19 hours a day?
All the people that I worked with.
At Coachella.
At every festival we flew to.
Okay,
you're saying everyone enjoyed working 19 hours a day? Did you enjoy working 19 hours a day?
I have a child from that job. Yeah.
So you enjoyed working 19 hours a day?
Yeah.
That's usually like, is that work if you're fucking?
Marcus,
are you
just got
Marcus,
trouble on a certain part of the internet.
what we need to ask him is, were you on the clock?
Shit. Oh no.
Were you on the clock? Jason, were you clocked in on your free Mac?
You were getting paid the fuck. You know what I mean.
You guys know there's no clock.
Y'all could have.
Jason, that's the thing is like, I just disagree. I disagree with the premise.
Right?
I disagree. I don't think there's people who like working 19 hours a day and doing this crazy ass shit and going balls to the wall.
When are you coming to the West Coast?
I mean, that's the thing is like that. Like, if you're saying people want, like, when do you what? So you got 4 hours to take a nap in the lazy river, and then you got to wake up and go back to work.
Yeah,
I just don't like.
You got to wake up and go back to the fucking.
And the thing is, though, like the people who work at festivals, at this point, like, go ahead and work 19 fucking hours if you want. Then
everybody,
I don't think,
from the guy that's selling you a fucking $25 beer to the people that
the people selling beers don't want to work 19 hours a day.
Yes,
that's something I've done. I've served drinks. I've served. I mean, fuck. Work at St. Patty's Day in a college town. And see how many hours you work. That wasn't fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you right now. The past 2 weeks, I worked 16 hours a day, every day for the last 14 days, and it actually made me think, Marcus, I give you free reign to slap me when I get up to DC to come see you. It actually made me think, because I'm still under the age limit of putting in my packet and commissioning again. Commissioning. Like, I'm like, if I'm gonna work 16 hours a day, I want some fucking healthcare. I want some BAH. I want some BAS. Right? Yeah. Like, if I'm gonna do 16 hours, I want to come out where I can at least get a 2-bedroom apartment, which I can't right now. And I work 16 hours a day every day.
Let me ask you guys. Let me ask you guys this question,
dude.
Let me ask you this question. Let's say you go do this job it's about 3 months. 3 months, you're working anywhere between 12 to 18 hours a day, right? You get done with it. The company says, Marcus, Mac, goddamn, that was a great job. Here's $5,000 bonus. Take 2 days off. Do you then tell them to go fuck themselves?
Yes.
I'm just asking.
So wait, because like, this is the thing though, is that like a 3-month period. Yeah, like you're talking about a 3-month period where you're just running ragged.
You're running ragged.
Okay, so this company too, like you only get paid for this 3 months, right? And this 3 months does not.
Or the other people. Remember, I'm
no, like the company, like you work at Coachella, you work those 3 months or whatever, they're doing whatever, right? Do you have to work the rest of the year?
Mm-hmm.
No,
it's not like you think it's work, right? It's like you never know people that worked at Pixar or any animation places. There's so much downtime and then there's right before we finish the film, and that's when we're around the clock working.
All
and
right,
that's when we're not going home for
but that's
days.
like I guess like that to Mac's point though. That's what the video game industry, the unionization effort in the video game industry is specifically going against that of the arbitrary date set for the arbitrary release date, and then just forcing people to meet the promises, right? Because really at the end of the day, if a video game doesn't come out on, the first Tuesday of the month, nothing happens. It's okay. Hey, all you fucking dweebs, just take a breather, play your other video games for another day, another week, another year. Because like, what's that? Cyberpunk
and then what you'll
20
do,
something,
rather
whatever.
than getting a rush product that needs like 50 patches. Oh yeah, Cyberpunk was prime. I mean, they did crunches on that. The game was still buggy and barely took 3 patches. And if they would have just taken the time to give those developers, those QA people, everybody that works, the video game chain, and I don't know everything. I follow a couple people on Twitter that have kind of walked me through it because they went through it. But it's crunch is horrible. Where they have mandatory 20-hour days. Like it's ridiculous. And I'm sorry, any vocation where you have mandatory 20-hour day and there's nothing extra on the back end, that's not work rotation. There's a reason that our forebears and by I say our forebears, I mean like our labor forebears. There's a reason that we don't have kids working in mills anymore. There's a reason we have a 5-day work week. There's a reason we have an 8-hour work day. And also we wouldn't have to do 20 hours in a 24-hour period where you literally you can't even get home. You just sleep in your work area. You wake up to get 3.5 hours of sleep. You use a half hour to brush your fucking teeth and like run a baby wipe between your ass crack and your armpits, and then you go right back to work.
Look, you're talking to the ass crack baby wipe guy, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm talking to 2 of them.
You knew it was coming,
bro. You ain't got.
That's it.
Yeah.
The rise and grind culture is like look at the same shit as this like the fucking like gun nuts, Like these are just people with fucking death.
There's a payoff. Here's the thing, and I'm not fighting for it. I just want you guys to understand the mentality, because you're missing the point that I'm here talking to you. And this conversation started me saying I turned down a very good paying job to play music. So I obviously don't give a shit about
Jason, I love you. I love you more. I love you even more, if that counts. I love you even more for doing that. Because it shows you're a fucking human being that knows.
But I understand. You know the thing. You know what it reminds me of more than anything? It reminds me of like cats making a team. Like I always wanted to play for Ohio State. If that's what you're like, dude, if I could play for Ohio State, and that's what it feels like when you're in the Bay and you see cats walking around with their badges on from their different companies, or they're like, who the fuck wears their Foot Locker shirt not at Foot Locker? Right? Who goes around throwing flags?
I mean, but Jason, I think what you're pointing to though is like a greater issue with society in general, right? Is that it's not like no, because really too is like no one actually likes working that much. You like the payoff, right? You like the status,
And you know what you like more than that? Being vested.
Being
vested, and you get that fucking, I'm vested in my stock shares now. I'm going to go buy a house.
Is that what happens?
Yes.
You work.
I knew customer service people that got vested. Jack Dorsey calls you the day you're vested, and it's like, congratulations. And now you can go do some real shit. That was going on in the Bay Area. People were vested in their shares they got when they worked for these big companies, and they were driving up prices of homes. It's a whole different world.
But that's
see the future.
But that's all right. But the thing is too also is that like that life, right? That ability doesn't really exist at too many places, especially within the United States. Because like it was like there are thousands of Starbucks. There's only one Coachella. There's only a
But
handful of these things.
but every big city now has a tech sector. It's not
Yeah,
Silicon Valley, but it's something, and
yeah,
everybody wants to get on the big thing because this is the way it works. Hey, I'm going to go work for uh, Marcus Tech, and if Marcus Tech takes off, they're on second stage funding. If Marcus Tech takes off and goes public, these shares they gave me when I started are going to be worth six figures.
yeah. I mean, but there's also, I mean, like this is, there's demographics that go in I guess not like a different direction.
Mhm.
In Maine, one of the largest growing industry for young people was farming.
Mhm.
Like they're seeing a resurgence of small independent farmers, and it's like a lot of young people who are like kind of like seeing like more of the writing on the wall, wanting to be able to just live a sustainable life or whatever, and they're just trying shit out. And some of them like grew up on farm. It's like I've had to meet a lot of these motherfuckers, nice people. Um, but no, but like that's the thing though is like as you can recognize that there are some people who work in these tech jobs or do these shows and like they may enjoy the spoils because the thing is too is like when I was bartending and I had to work like from like 6 in the morning till 3 for St. Patty's Day and I'm literally tired as fuck but my pockets are like stuffed with disgusting sweaty ones. I mean, like,
You sure
I'm,
that
Pulled,
it wasn't?
pulled out,
I'm
pulled out
happy.
from
Yeah,
the bosoms of every
I'm
woman in
happy.
Columbus who'd been smashing fucking cheese curds
Yeah.
at Buckeyes games. Who's like, hey, sweetheart, let me get a Yingling. Let me get
Let
that
me get the
brand new
Yingling.
Yingling that just got to Ohio.
When I was bartending, that was before Yingling was sold in Ohio. That's when they still had
Okay.
the beef going. So, just to show my cred. But that's the thing is like,
Marcus is
yeah, no,
twisting
but
the
that's
dollar
I
bills
didn't
out
enjoy
before
it,
he puts them
right?
in the
It was
jar.
something, yeah, it was something that I had to do, right, to be able to fucking, either and like that was something that's like I had to do to just get a break, getting that day
Yeah.
where like I can work my fucking ass off. It's like, oh shit, this is either rent for 2 months, it ended up being rent for a month and a half and a bunch of drugs. But like that's it. Like no one, I don't think anybody enjoys that shit. And like the thing is too is that like, what are we actually trying to get to? Because people could do that if you want. People. I think people, if they really would have said like, we want to throw this huge fucking festival and have people be a good time, well, like just convince, like, pay people to do it. Some people will choose to fucking like work the 19 hours because they feel responsible in a product that they want to, and not even product, but some type of form of art and experience. They want to put on something cool. They want to do something dope. Like fuck yeah, do it. But I don't think people are doing it because they actually want to, right? You got to
Remind
we,
me,
we live in this world, right?
remind me to tell you
Yeah.
the story about uh, the festival after Coachella, which is Stagecoach. That's why we're there for three
Why do
months.
they?
'Cause
That's
it's
the
Why do they
country one,
all?
right?
a country one.
Why do they all have
But
stupid names?
I will
But
tell
guys,
you, this is an off-air
we
conversation we will have. And
all right. We've been hammering on the first topic for 55 minutes.
well, because
So
it's a good
it
topic, and
is
I wanted to have fun pushing back on you guys, and
it
I love
is. But
both of you like play cousins.
let's literally jump into topic 3 though. I think this one's gonna hit a
Oh
little
man.
harder. Um, but for everybody that maybe doesn't know, there was a gentleman named Lawrence Livers. His nickname's Poppy. He was a wide receiver who played at Villanova, and he sued the NCAA back in 2017, stating that while student athletes receive a scholarship, they should be considered university employees and should at the very least be paid as work-study students. Now, when he initially put this lawsuit forward, it was dismissed as not having standing. And if you aren't like spun up on legalese, standing essentially means that there was no prior legal precedent for the lawsuit to move forward. So him and his attorneys essentially redid some things and changed the wording, and it was given the okay to go forward in July 2018. Now, 4 years later, we just get released that the NCAA, because this is a lawsuit, had the ability to rebut what old, Lawrence Livers said. They cited the 13th Amendment as a reason why collegiate athletes should not receive pay. And for everybody, for most of us that took American history, that's the one that says no slavery in America, right? Well, here's the full
Yeah, that's
wording.
one of the good ones.
Yes, here's the full wording of the 13th Amendment. Neither slavery or involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. The NCAA is literally arguing that collegiate athletes should be treated as prison labor and are not subject to minimum wage labor laws or anything like that. And they cited a case that essentially was brought about by a man locked up in California, saying that under California labor law, he should be paid the state minimum wage. And that suit was dismissed. So the NCAA is leaning on a suit based on the 13th Amendment to not pay collegiate athletes. And I bring this to you two gentlemen because as the melanin deficient part of our trio here, right?
Say it with the chest back. You don't see a problem with this at all. No.
Oh, yeah, right. The attorney that drew this up probably has no lips. I'm going with Mark's.
Yep, that's fair.
Science on this.
Fair assessment.
Okay. Yeah, but I have my own thoughts about it, and I've articulated them and I've written them down separate from the notes. But I want to hear what you guys have to say first about literally the NCAA arguably overseeing the most popular form of sports entertainment, we'll call it, in college football, college basketball, basing an entire rebuttal to a lawsuit around saying these athletes should be equated to prison.
I mean, for me, like, fucking hell. For the thing that's like, so it's hard, right? There's a lot of thoughts going in my head. A lot of thoughts going in my head. But my partner, is actually going through law school right now, and like this legal, and something I always think about something Pascal actually said. Because I asked him, I was like, "Do you have any, advice?" He said, "Just remember that law school is where they make sure you lose your humanity when you're discussing the law."
Mm.
And and then is like, so when they're talking about this, like, it's sick. It's sick. And I'm not going to give these lawyers a break. I'm not going to give the NCAA a break. But they will literally say anything. I think this speaks to, like, or at least a lawyer will say anything in order to win the case, right? Like, he'll pretty much say anything, whatever they got to do, tie into any previous court case or whatever, to win their suit. I think citing the 13th, I think speaks to the desperation of the NCAA on this. Because this is one of the most disgusting ways you could argue anything. And the fact that they are going this way, I think speaks to the absolute desperation that they have. Because if you're going here, that means, like, you literally have nothing else. There's no other precedent, there's no other cases that are really going to help you if you have to go to the 13th Amendment.
Well, I'm looking at the what the judge actually said in the decision. Did you look at what the judge actually said, Mac?
I parsed it. I was trying to read, like, I've been trying to get more, well, better versed in reading legal documents. So I read
Hmm.
his decision from a legal point of view and not like what the website said. So I have trouble doing that because when you write, it's like writing military, right? Nobody else reads it, and it's dumb as shit. They should be writing for the rest of us to read it, but it's literally just for their peers. So it was a little difficult for me. So if you found something better, break it
Well,
down
here,
for me too.
let's just go by what the judge says and have a discussion from there. I think that'll be better than trying to debate the 13th Amendment. On Friday, U.S. District Judge Michael Bailson of the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, who previously dismissed Liver's first complaint for lack of standing, which Mac explained, denied the NCAA and Villanova's request to dismiss his refined lawsuit. Bailson said that this time around, Livers made allegations plausible enough that he could proceed under the Fair Labor Standards Act. In his amended complaint, Livers added the argument that NCAA athletes are no different from work-study students, except that the athletes do more arduous and time-consuming labor. And that gets into what we've talked about on this show several times, which is the fact that these kids are less students and more athletes.
Yes.
And it's kind of foolish to think at certain levels of Division I sports, the major schools that we all follow, that these kids are quote unquote student athletes. And then you have to look into the creation of that terminology of student athlete was literally created to help the NCAA in a lawsuit where two college athletes had filed because they had career-ending injuries and were suing for loss of wages. So this is really where the NCAA starts to double down on the idea that no, your education is free. Bailson said this time, in his amended complaint, Livers added that the argument that the NCAA athletes are no different from work-study students, except that the athletes do more arduous time. So these allegations permit the plausible inferences that scholarship athletes, like their work-study counterparts, fall within employee status under the FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act. Bailson wrote in his July 25th opinion, and that defendants, Villanova and the NCAA, were aware of this when they chose not to pay them, suggesting reckless disregard of the alleged duty. The NCAA was quick to point out that Bailson's ruling did not spell victory for Livers just yet.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to think, they're going to appeal this. Like, this will be appealed. And what a lot of people don't know is, the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC all filed amicus briefs on behalf of the NCAA and Villanova. And an amicus brief is essentially a brief saying that, hey, while we are not directly involved with this lawsuit, any secondary and tertiary effects could possibly affect us. So we are siding with these people arguing this. So, like, essentially the big two here, the Big 10 and the SEC, who are controlling the very fate of college sports right now, are signing amicus briefs, whether the judge was swayed, and apparently he was, by the revised legal filing by Livers and his legal team. This is going to be appealed to a higher court.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know what these higher courts are staffed with.
Anti-labor former attorneys that all came up in the Federalist Society.
Yes, exactly.
Fair, impartial, nonpartisan professionals of the court.
And by that, Marcus means bird lips, and I mean, let's face it. This is how I look at it. Especially
this is the plan. This is how they do these.
Yeah, especially when you are talking about sports, right? When we talk about sports, let's go back to Cap. who are the biggest people, or the biggest subset of the population that threw a fit about Kaepernick literally doing what he's allowed to do based on free speech rights? Conservative white
Free speech warriors.
people, right? Now, we see it time and time again. Literally this week, LeBron James was asked what's the city you hate playing most in? He said Boston because they're racist as fuck, right? The thing is, the powers that be that are literally in charge of these institutions, that whether they are running parallel, legal in sports wise, or they're literally walking in tandem, or run by white people, usually old white dudes. You get the occasional old white woman, but mostly old white dudes that look at these young men who are predominantly African American in most sports, but now you're seeing a lot more Latino, populations, that are coming up in, maybe not revenue generating sports, but sports like baseball, swimming, the influx of Latin athletes are going through the roof now at the collegiate ranks. And the thing is, the people, the administrators, the athletic, directors, for the most part, again, are old white men and women. And that's how they look at these athletes. And nothing anybody can say could change my mind, because they've done nothing. Okay, action speaks louder than words, right? They've done nothing action-wise to actually show that they don't look at them like just a means to generate revenue, be chewed up through the gears, and then spit out, and they don't give a shit.
Well, let me ask you this question.
And then they pay millions of dollars in state funds, because most colleges are what? State schools.
Yep.
To hire high-priced attorneys to put out bullshit like this. We should not pay collegiate athletes because they need to be equated with prison labor, which takes us into a whole other discussion if we really want to get into it.
But let's get away from that, because I think that's an old conversation that isn't as relevant as it was 20 years ago. Because now you're seeing more upper middle class athletes that don't care. They come from a decent living. They come from a decent family. This is just a stepping stone. Do you really think a lot of these kids that are second generation pros give that much of a shit about getting paid at the level, especially with NIL coming up?
Yeah, I do.
Well,
It's a different athlete. And it's like, I'm here for 3 years and then I go sign my big deal.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that, like, I think, yeah. Because the thing is too is that, like, even with those athletes, you may be chilling, but you know that the prospect for more is right there. And I think this is where, like, you are dangling Bentleys, you are dangling real fucking shit in front of these dudes' eyes to say, hey, because that's the thing is, like, I think yes, they still give a shit. I think whether these athletes, because, and I agree with you, right? Like, but that's the thing is, like, they're gonna say, I'm doing what my dad did, and because, like, yeah, they think the other fucking NCAA players should have been paid like they should be paid now, and they're not getting a work study pay. So that's really where the difference is.
Well, I mean,
like,
they're not getting no like
minimum wage.
I think it's much like the tech workers, right? It's like you're obedient because you are trying to be part of a system, and so I don't think they care as much, because, first of all, if you think the NCAA is going to try to top the NFL for paying athletes, that's how this whole shit got started in the first place. Because kids didn't want to go pro. Because it was like, why would I go pro? I make more money playing college sport. That was a thing at one point in time.
Yeah.
So we're not in those days are gone. The big money's in the NFL. We'll see how much money kids get with the NIL. We don't know yet. We just don't know yet.
I think it's actually, I mean, honestly, I think, let's say it goes through, because the thing too is, like, what, kids can stay for 3, maybe 4 years, or 4, maybe 5 years. They actually get to start and play. If you're good, if you're one of the top, you want to stick around, you're playing all 4 years, whatever. That's like 2% of college athletes, Um, but yeah, I think so the fuck what? And I mean, maybe in like the NFL, like they got to be okay. Like, why wouldn't they be okay with it too? Because I think, dude, it's like the NFL, if they don't like other fucking leagues popping up, they should be on board with the NCAA,
Well,
getting some
because you're
money.
giving now you're talking about giving youth a lot of power, right? And I think what we have to talk about all the
Maybe.
time is
Yeah.
structures and systems. We're coming up on the anniversary of Michael Brooks' death tomorrow. Sadly, that poor young man sadly passed away 2 years ago tomorrow. And in his be ruthless, be kind to people, be ruthless to systems kind of mantra, we're not looking at this system that's keeping all this in place. And that system says, I can't give this young person power, even though we know while this kid is in school, remember, Eric Dickerson doesn't go to SMU because he wants to play with Craig, what's his
Craig James.
Name? Craig James. He goes to SMU because they paid him more money than he was getting at A&M, who had given him a brand new car. And this was in '82. It had
not just any brand new car, a gold Trans Am.
Gold Trans Am. And so when we think about like the systems that keep this shit in place, it was like, we'll give you a little bit of dough while you play college ball, and then the payoff comes at the next level because you want kids to aspire to go to the next level. Leave early even to go to the next level. Because what was the conversation? You remember when Shaq was coming out? If he stays another year in college, he can get hurt. And if he gets hurt, will he have the same draft stock? We hear this conversation every year. The NIL could threaten that. Yeah. Because now college kid Joe might be making a shit ton of money in advertisements and potential jersey sales, appearance fees.
Yeah.
In Arkansas, where you guys are from, in Columbus and Cleveland areas?
Yes. Yeah, but why not?
How much money is this asshole going to make to show up at a nightclub?
Yeah. But that, like, the thing is, though, for part of it is that the underground shit's not going to stop. Because, like, I remember when I was tricking around fucking Columbus, and there was some, like, a bunch of the starting Ohio State players were driving around with these matching silver fucking Chrysler 300s.
Yeah.
How'd they end up with that shit? Wait, they weren't getting paid. So the thing is like, a lot of this under the table shit is still going to happen. If anything, what the NIL will do, just make it more transparent, and also just like let like whoever doing the work, because you still have these kids showing up and doing events, right? Like, if you don't think college players, the top college players, aren't being told by their coaches, hey, we just need you to show up to this fucking rich person's house for a night, you're fooling yourself. This is already happening. The best chance is that, like, it just opens up in public, like, it just makes it okay for this to happen. And I think, like, it'd be nice if these motherfuckers could just see this.
Let me ask you, Ohio boys, this question: what happens if NIL is going on when Maurice Clarett is playing? Does he just stay?
Oh man, woo! Columbus nightlife is bumping. No, I don't. That thing is, like, who knows? But the thing is, though, is like, obviously the NFL can exist without Maurice Clarett.
Mm-hmm. But Maurice Clarett can, you guys know better than I do. I wasn't in Ohio at that time.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about Maurice Clarett. He was a transcendent player in high school. No, like, I'm being honest. Like, this dude.
I was fucking around. I was doing like crosses up and shit like that. I'm sorry, I was fucking around.
He's from Ohio, right?
Yeah, he's from Warren, Ohio. He went to Warren G. Harding, which is, was a football powerhouse. He goes to Ohio State. plays in a very run-friendly offense, which is right up his alley. But the fact of the matter is, Maurice Clarett wasn't going to make it as a pro. He wasn't fast enough. He showed that at the pro day, and also when he got drafted, he didn't have the speed. And on top of that, Maurice Clarett to this day, who's really turned his shit around and does a lot more good outside of the NFL than he could have ever done inside, will tell you that he didn't have the discipline to play in the NFL. I appreciate Maurice Clarett more now for the work he does back home in Youngstown and in Warren, doing what he does. He does a lot of community outreach. The dude raises funds to essentially help keep schools open in Northeast Ohio, because Northeast Ohio is a shit show. Maybe even more so than the rest of the state, and that's saying something.
NAFTA.
Yeah. So it's Clarett. Maybe he stays another year or two if NIL was a thing. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think what he wanted to do was play in the NFL, and I think every college player wants that, because at the time, that's the only game in town where I can get paid to play football. Well, we're looking at 20 years later, and you know what isn't the only game in town to get paid to play football anymore? Like, granted, you're going to make the most money in the NFL, but you could literally go to Germany right now and make $52,000 a year to play football. That's not bad. That's more than what you're making. It's more than what you're making in the USFL right now.
I
guess if you get hurt, you could go to get health care.
Yeah.
I guess my main question is, though, it's what happens when a Maurice Clarett, who is the hero of a state, can sell his jersey. Again, I wasn't there. You guys were. You can tell me better than anyone how many people were walking around with 28 jerseys. Was he 28 in college?
13.
13, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With 13 jerseys.
Jason, now I saw people walking around in his high school jersey.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. How much money can this young man make? And then even if you flame out in the league, which can happen, he wouldn't be the only cat from Ohio State to flame out in the league.
Hey, easy.
Stick he would be point. He would be the only cat to flame out in the league. I had to give you guys I had to give you guys a Big Ten dig. But let's say he flames out. Is he still a force in the fact that he's been marketed as Mr. Football since 18 to, let's just say, 22? Let's say he stays for 4 years, right? Because he's just making so much money. Why do you want to upset that apple cart?
I honestly, I think this could spiral anyway. Because, the thing is, too, is like a guy like, Maurice Clarett from his story. Well, and I disagree with you, Mac. I don't care how many kids this kid saves. You know what I'm saying? I really don't care how nice the community is. That strip that he made in the Fiesta Bowl will be the most important thing he ever does, okay? I'm happy that he's doing something that's helping the community, but nothing helped Ohio more
Jason,
in that moment.
You need to make a drop. You need to make a drop where you piece together some shit that Marcus says, but it ultimately goes, fuck them kids. Just make
it. Fuck them dicks, okay? That fucking Fiesta Bowl strip. That's it. No, but I really do. It's like, honestly, I think it's just right. You know what I'm saying? This is just correct. Because what it looks like, it can look like a lot of different things. I think jersey sales is where you actually start getting into that gray area where the university gets to say, no, we're taking our cut. That's where you start getting, in a little bit more of a gray area. But the thing really too is, like, at the end of the day, if he flames out in the NFL, maybe he's got actual cash for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually got maybe a business,
some type of
business apparatus already set up back home that you could go back to, and or the thing that's like gonna fucking suck, and this is just true too, is there's gonna be a lot of fucking people who get that direct money, right? Instead of getting that car, they're just getting that fucking cash, and they do something stupid and they end up hurting themselves or somebody else getting into some, like that there's that possibility for everything, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's money that they are generating that they don't get, and there's really no other way to square that, and
Yeah.
especially not with the 13th Amendment. That ain't it.
Well, I think again, remember the lawsuit's going to get refiled again, and now we're looking at
Yeah.
it from less the 13th Amendment perspective and more of you're violating labor law and the new NL.
We're talking about the only good thing that has come out of the Biden administration, the fucking totally rad NLRB.
Yeah.
Because that place is based as fuck if we're talking labor.
Yeah,
Okay,
I believe they said college athletes should be able to unionize. And I also think the NIL is going to be huge for women's sports because all these women that can do clinics now and get paid, it's going to be massive.
Yeah.
I wonder, and again, Mac, you had walked away for a minute. It's back to the kind of the tech conversation that you're dealing with a population of people, a class now of athletes. And this is different than we had before, that is so indoctrinated into a system, because this is always about systems. Can they actually see beyond it once you start to monetize your brand? And we're already talking about young people from the AAU age of 6 and on that are looking at themselves as brand. They're okay with I am brand. So it's hard to have I am brand think beyond I.
Okay. I will say this. Like, let's just take a few little case studies here. Josh Hamilton, case in point, right? Number 1 pick, MLB, by the Tampa Bay Rays in 1999. Has a horrible drug problem. Like he got like I believe it was like an $8 million bonus and literally pissed it all away on drugs. Hits the major leagues late in the season in 2005, I believe, gets traded to the Texas Rangers, and essentially becomes a superstar he was supposed to be, right? Signs a massive deal with the Angels. His body's breaking down already because, for Major League Baseball, he's late in the game. He's 7-8 years into his career. Has horrible, it's Major League Baseball. You're on the road all the time. The guy's relapsed a couple times, and what a lot of people don't realize is addiction is, it's a series of relapses in between time where you're clean. But he didn't handle that kind of spotlight well, right? But the thing is, this isn't 1999 anymore. These kids like Colorette, let's say we have Colorette plop down in 2022. He's going to be growing up with social media. He knows how to manipulate it. He knows how to do his thing. He's already at this point, because he is Mr. Football, which is a literal title in Ohio for the top, high school football player in the state. He is Mr. Football. He knows how to spin this. And in the day of NIL, maybe halfway through his senior year, he's already pulling NIL money. He knows these younger athletes now are much smarter than us three were 20 fucking years ago if we were to get this big influx of cash, and how to manipulate and kind of navigate social media. Whereas Maurice Clarett and JB, you can sit there and tell me how fast Clarett was. He wasn't fast. He was big. He was able to blow through people, get to the second level, and he had the privilege of playing with some very fast wide receivers, very well downfield, which gave him open holes.
I'll say this though,
yes,
the talk of speed though, that's something that can get worked on. That's something that can get worked on. And I'm not saying I disagree too, because he was a big back. He was heavy. He shouldn't expect it to be but you could work on speed. I think the dynamic he brought to the game was something else. It's that's one thing.
It was nuts.
You could just have a good running back, and then you got players who literally bring a fucking vibe. Like that motherfucker on the field was like a constant nuck if you buck, playing through a stereo for the rest of the players.
Dude, that guy, that guy played with a dislocated shoulder for like 3 weeks. Like he brought everything to and JB, okay, you don't remember assholes like us saying he was slow. And whether you like scouts or not, scouts get paid to do that job. And there wasn't one NFL scout that said he had NFL speed. Not a one. Wouldn't look at all the scouting reports. And they have 30 fucking reports out of 32 teams that are available. And not one of them said Maurice Clarett was fast enough to play all three down, the 3 downs that you played in the NFL. So,
well,
I mean, I love Clarett.
I want to get to this before we go. We've been talking for an hour and a half. Someone says, wasn't there Sean Moon? Shout out to Sean. Did ESPN do a 30 for 30 about most professional athletes going broke? They did do a 30 for 30 about broke. Yeah. If you go back and watch maybe 2 episodes ago, we had Wosny Lambre and a good friend of mine. His name's William. I won't divulge his
Coach. It's Coach.
Coach Luke. Coach Will. And Will coached Dame Lillard and quite a few other pros. But Will actually talks about the change in athletes that he gets told from his guys in the pros, how they want to learn more about how to work on their brand and what's the word? I can't even think. Diversify their investment portfolios. So where kids were falling asleep years before, they were sitting there asking to go longer because they wanted to learn more about how to build out their brand and protect themselves financially. Again, I think we're dealing with, especially in basketball, we're dealing with an entirely different athlete that is year-round training in specific sports, men and women. Volleyball is just as competitive. Soccer is as competitive as this and expensive.
Track and field. Look at track and field now.
Oh my God! You have to pay all that money for your kid to practice, to get personal training, and the private high schools are back as being these number one schools because they can afford to pay for higher end facilities, higher end training. There was a time where when you look at
not even just that, Jason, it was like Coach Will said. It was like Coach Will said, where you have like IMG Academy set up, where we're here to make sure kids get their diplomas, but they're here to play football or they're here to play baseball. They're here to play basketball.
And to give you, Will, at one point in time, the school, Oakland High, where he coaches at, had cut the janitors for the sports programs. So Will and the other coaches would have to mop and clean the facilities before the games. Like, they raise their own money for buses. When it comes to school sports, because so much is done at the AAU level, it's just so different. And again, the athlete that we're getting that's an elite athlete, this cat has specialized training. A lot of them had parents that played at the next level, mom and dad. Did you watch the thing on Odell Beckham?
Bro,
where his mom was like a top flight athlete too?
Yeah, did you see what happened yesterday though in the MLB draft? Number 1 overall pick, Matt Holliday's son. We remember Matt Holliday. He played in Oakland for like 10 fucking years.
Yeah.
Right? There were 4 kids of Major League Baseball players that were drafted in the top 15 yesterday.
Really?
4 players. It goes back to what you were saying about basketball, remember? Where you're like, yo, this is a family business. That this isn't just like, we're not like, in this case, we're talking baseball to baseball. But in the case, look at Pat Mahomes. His dad was a professional baseball player. He's a pitcher. Now he plays football. Yeah, and like Tim Dipple, exactly. Mark McGuire's kid got drafted today in day 2, right?
Really?
So like, yes, like you were saying, Jason, just about basketball, but we are seeing a lot of crossover in between former professional athletes and their children, going into professional sports. The other one I was thinking about, Jason, I kind of spaced, but it was Andrew Jones' kid, Drew Jones.
Really?
He got drafted. Yes, at number 4. Number 4.
Are they going as minors or are they going as like college players?
Both Drew Jones and Matt Holliday's kid were drafted out of high school.
Interesting. I find the whole thing very fascinating because we are about to watch a true paradigm change, and I don't know if it's for the better or for the worst. Because are we going to see the system protect itself? And I think the system is protecting itself by getting, and I don't think this is all sitting down in a room. We need more athletes, kids. Because of someone asked the question in the chat, they admitted that they're seeing more people from upper middle class backgrounds, but do you really think that many? And I was like, for elite schools, yeah. Hell yeah. And for schools like Villanova and Vanderbilt and Stanford, those motherfuckers just play to play. Rice, they just play to play. You're playing with doctors, lawyers, congressmen. You're not playing with too many pros, right?
Yeah, or the athletes aren't graduating.
Those guys are Duke. Those guys outside the basketball team, those guys are going 4 years.
Yeah. Which I think too, like in some cases, that's what's made you look at a team like Utah, Boise State football, like the fact that they had players that stuck around and were able to work a fucking system really fucking well. It can win you games, no, I think I really too. It's like I don't know. I'm hoping. I think like what Max said too is like about the idea that this thing is going to get the pushed back and forth in the courts and appealed and stuff like that. That's like kind of how like the conservative movement has been winning any battle, and we kind of see like where that ends up with Roe.
That's how they win without winning, right?
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
and so we'll see. Where that ends up, I think it would be good, honestly. Really at the end of the day, I think it would be better if young people stuck around in the college for more. I think really at the end of the day, you should separate college from universities. That's my stance. I think if they're gonna be there, obviously you should pay them. I think it's fine. I think it'd be better. I think I love college football more. I think you'd have a better college football product. And the thing is too, it's like the NFL, you'd have more rounded players, you'd have more developed players, coming in. And that might be a good way to actually stave off some of the other leagues that are coming up if like the NFL actually feels threatened, because the NFL's never been friendly to other leagues coming up,
I don't think let's defer to Mac on this. I don't think the NFL sees the USFL as a threat. I think the NFL sees the USFL as a net benefit.
Okay, yeah.
No, that's the thing. I don't even think that, Jason. Because the NFL was very standoffish with the USFL this season. And when you look at it, they signed the developmental thing with the XFL, with Dwayne Johnson, the XFL. And by development, I don't mean like player development. It's rules development. They're going to try things in the XFL. The NFL will. And then if it works there, they'll implement it into the NFL. The NFL does not see the USFL as a potential feeder league. The NFL does not have a good working relationship with the people that head the USFL. The NFL has a good working relationship with the XFL. Johnson has been over backwards to make sure the NFL noticed him, and that's why he signed this kind of rules development deal with the NFL.
Well, he did that with his propaganda show, Ballers. That's the most NFL. If you ever want to see what NFL propaganda looks like, watch The Rock's show about a sports agent with a heart of gold.
Yeah, and the thing is, right. It's like what. Do you guys remember that show Playmaker 1 year?
Yes.
The NFL fought it tooth and nail because it portrayed this fictional NFL in a bad light, even though every negative thing that happened in the NFL season to a player the year prior, right? So like the NFL squashed it because ESPN doesn't want to lose the NFL's business, right?
I remember watching that and thinking it was like, man, this is a little over the top.
Yeah, but literally, that's what happened. This shit literally happened the season before, But like you said, Jason, Ballers comes out, and how many NFL players were in that fucking show? How many? Too many to fucking count.
It's not by coincidence.
Nope.
Yep.
Look at the credits at the end of it.
Yep.
Right?
One of
Like,
those-
I forget what the
Absolutely.
NFL's role was. It's not produced by, but there's an NFL.
oh, dude, yeah. There's a thing to the
Liaison?
NFL in almost
No,
every.
there's an NFL thing at the end of it.
Yeah,
It's-
Like there's like a Chiron. You know, like it's fucking ridiculous. Like that's exactly. That show was fucking. And I mean, I'm not gonna fucking fault Dwayne Johnson for doing that. I'm not gonna fault him for that. Like he literally bought a league for pennies on the dollar because Vince was just trying to unload, right? And then is trying to fucking get it spun up, and all he's done are the right things PR wise. Where was he this past week, gentlemen? Jackson State University down there with Dion, doing an HBCU showcase.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
Where was he last week? Yeah. Right? Where was he last week? Right? Where he was at small schools, you know, like Jonathan, I'll fight Rock tomorrow. He's big, he got a lot of muscle, but you know what I do? I fight dirty.
Would you vote for him though?
No.
The Rock 2024?
Fuck no.
There'd be an improvement to what we got now.
Sean Moon says, I'm not interested in working class and poor athletes learning how to be good business people. Where are the athletes willing to support shows like This Is Revolution?
Yo,
The
man, we're
sad
trying
part-
to
Go
get
ahead,
him
Mark.
on here. We're trying to get him on here,
Yeah.
Jason. We'll
Hey.
find one. We'll get
Hey,
one.
I would love to have athletes talk on this show, but there's two things. One, you might get a bitter athlete on the show, but overall, I mean, these cats have nothing against capitalism because it's working for them.
Yeah.
Remember, we're talking from this perspective of people that capitalism is working for. And what you have to convince people, like, let's say Kaepernick, for example, and I have my beefs with Kaepernick, and I need to be careful what I say because actually I have good friends that are in that camp. If you can guide a guy like that in the right direction to understand how power works and how capitalism is fucking over the little guy, and I think that he can be compelled to act, but how they act, are they willing to truly upset the apple cart? Because what we're talking about here is what I'm doing is I'm trying to play devil's advocate with Mac and Marcus. That's all I'm doing, because they're talking about a true paradigm shift in college athletes having some power. And what I'm throwing out is, and I want that, right? But we have to be honest with the power of pro sports. And the NFL doesn't seem to, I haven't seen them say too much about it, have a problem with the NIL. Because again, we don't know what it's going to look like in the end.
I mean, because that's where, like, there is ample opportunity. This is why, like, because the thing is, like, the reason why I think that, like, the courts were ended up allowing the players to be able to, like, make money is because that opens it up. Does that loosen the grip off of, like, the university's ability? You know, the university's board and donors, does that loosen their grip? Yeah, that's who's really trying to keep this. Now, are there a whole other assortment, a whole other sector of capital that says if they're able to get, make money themselves, we now have access to a new money making,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's where that's why I think it might, actually happen. And like, what is it? What does that look like afterwards? Do you have, and like the first player that says, "Oh, I'm just done after playing college. I got my own podcast. I only got my own radio show. I got this, whatever." That would be the most interesting development. But I think it's going to go on like it's going on now, except, a few more 18-year-olds get some more cash in their pocket, play a few years, go off the NFL. Hopefully they don't get hurt. I don't think I don't think it'll make any too many big seismic changes though.
I would like to see what this paradigm shift looks like, but I think what's going to happen is I think we're going to see it at the lower level, like sadly, what we talked about with high school sports being a feeder system for academies. And then Max talked about this with the pro game or the college game, where you're seeing a consolidation of leagues. And I think these major market universities, why would you not want to get USC and UCLA in the Big Ten?
Yeah.
It's flyover country. So now you have big market dollars in flyover country, and now you can actually keep LA athletes or actually California athletes now can stay in California because you're in the number 2 media market. College football, even after a Super Bowl championship with the Rams, is still the number 1 ticket in town. So I don't know what the future is going to look like for sports. I don't know if we're really going to see equality. I think you're going to get some sort of liberal version of, well, this is equality now because this kid got paid for a jersey and now everything's fine. You don't need to pay the athletes, right? The universities can have all the power. The system doesn't. I'm working on this whole thing about living in this moment of kayfabe because ultimately power never really shutters when we have these massive debates, when we have these massive quote unquote uprisings, even when shit gets burned down. Power doesn't shutter because you'll get some shit. When the U.S. was on fire in the late 60s, give you niggas Soul Train.
Well, I mean, Alaska has over 360 fires. California and Utah are on fire. Like, what are they going to give us this time? It better be as good as Soul Train.
You're going to get the New Jack City Part 2, the prequel. And the funny part is, you think I'm joking.
That note, beyond the red zone, I'm gonna go throw myself in the traffic.
Hey, thank you guys so much for making me laugh. I was mildly depressed this morning, and I love you two more than I did before, and I look forward to you guys making a trip out west so we can eat lobster as the sun sets.
Well, I'm allergic to that, so I'll eat something else. I mean,
are you allergic to pork?
No, I love me some pork.
Well, the carnitas are fire out here. What about you, Marcus?
Oh, no, I'm not allergic to anything. I just hate pickles. So let's go.
That's an odd thing to hate.
Really?
Yeah.
No, pickles are disgusting. Like, I don't
you're
know.
Fucking high, dude. I love pickles, man.
Because you're fucking like got it. I know there's a bunch of disgusting fucking pigs out there that love pickles, but like they're fucking gross. They smell gross. They look gross. The water, fucking don't get me started.
I've been pickling things, by the way.
I bet.
Gotten into pickling. You guys I don't send you guys the pictures because I figured that you would just get mad at me because I already send you enough bad movies and shit. But I live alone and I plate all my food. And I send pictures of like Teray and Pascal.
Oh my god, you're such a fucking loser. Jesus Christ.
And I take a picture
Marcus, if you let this man live, you let him live his best life.
Oh my god, this fucking guy.
Stop being
my life is dope and I do dope shit.
It's like you are fucking like a venture capitalist daughter living in Manhattan.
Do not compare Jason to a 19-year-old blonde white girl. He's at least a 23-year-old female.
I swear, I want to do culinary school. Look at my plating. I've been practicing.
Oh, dude, I made chilaquiles today, and I actually made my own red sauce. I wanted red this time. I mastered my green sauce, and I took pictures. And I only send it to people that I know. I never post this shit on social media.
You want to find somebody who cares? Post that shit on social media. Do not send it to me. Okay?
Sounds like Marcus just signed up to be on Jason's food text list.
You fuck around and make me hungry, sending me some shit you made.
Oh yeah,
I'm coming over. That's what's really
And I
gonna happen.
Hey,
totally.
Jason, I'm down,
Yeah,
dude.
sure.
Like,
Remember,
that
I
shit's
live
me, I'm all
alone.
for it.
I
Give me them
invite my
tacos.
neighbor over. I'm like, hey man, I'm really sad, and I just went to the store, and I bought 3 steaks that are about this thick for you and your hungry ass wife. So
You want to come over?
would you guys like to come over?
Like, no, we gotta do
If
something.
the table's not filled with a spread of multiple dips just for chips while they wait for the finished product, then I'm failing.
Oh my god, look at you, this guy.
He's a
You know what's funny?
Good
You
host.
think I'm joking? I'm totally not.
he's a
Even
good
to
host.
Beaver ass.
And
Yeah.
when everybody's gone, I sadly eat a bowl of cereal and watch like fucking Twilight Zone from the
Oh my
80s.
god. Oh my god.
Jesus Christ, Jason.
Oh, Jesus.
You're a
Jesus.
fucking musician. Pick up an instrument and do something, bro.
I can't, man. I gotta finish this script. And I looked at my guitar the other day and I was gonna touch it. And then in the back of my mind I heard you must finish the script. And then
You need to pick up a guitar. No.
Yeah, you need to pick up the guitar, dude. You
Your
really do.
doctors, your doctors are prescribing music playing, all right? For what, an hour.
Yeah,
Okay?
at least.
No,
I
you
gotta
just play
watch
music
this
for an hour.
Marcus is the unofficial legal representative for Beyond the Red Zone. Is saying legally you're required
Yep.
to touch a guitar for an hour, and at least just strum it twice. Just twice. That's all we're asking for.
This is how bad. So Gene Bajalan edits a lot of our shit, right? Wherever we write shit, Bajalan, because he's the editor at Sublation. So Bajalan is actually putting together a lot of some old stuff I wrote for Sublation. And I've been talking about this, been bouncing this idea around with everybody, right? Me and Tarek fought about it for 4 hours a day. And so I started writing last night, and I share a document with Bajalan so he can see. And the motherfucker starts writing as I'm typing. Hey, Jason. I'm so excited for this. Looks good so far. That's why I can't finish. Can't finish. I want to finish so bad so I could go record new heavy shit, but I can't. I started a new chill beat. Can't finish that.
Hey Marcus, you know what this sounds like? It sounds like my name's Jason, and I'm Jason from 10 years ago that enjoys working 19 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I'm hearing right now. That's all I'm hearing right now.
Where's
hear
that rise and grind, Jason?
Yeah, I'm hearing I'm Jason who works at Starbucks and had to beat up a couple houseless people because they took the tip. Right? That's what I'm hearing right now, Jason. What I want to hear is I'm Jason. I get to fucking make great content with some rad fucking people, and I can take 20 minutes out of my day to sit here and play some fucking music. See, you're missing. You're not seeing everything, my friend.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
sometimes take that content creation hat off.
Yeah.
And put on your I'm just gonna fuck around and play something stupid on my guitar hat on. That's what you need to do, man.
That
Really.
Here, I'll leave with this, and this is the truth. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I hate every time I do this show. I always divulge way too much personal information. I've been making music for the majority of my life. I sang in the church choir. If you Google hard enough, you can actually find hip hop vinyl that's out there on the internet that I'm on. I played on music with bands like Dead Prez. I've been doing music for a while. I get nervous every time I make new music. I get nervous every time I release it. I get scared.
I don't think that's a bad thing. Like,
No, that's why I keep doing it. If I didn't get nervous, I wouldn't do it. But I always get nervous when I go on stage, and I always get nervous when I make new shit. I get a little nervous because Marcus knows my routine with this. I think I've said this on air before. I literally always take a shower beforehand, and I always wear pants. I have pants on.
Oh, look at that. He's flexible too.
I got
Ladies,
short
he's flexible, and he plays music. and
Well,
he's a
but that's the
Starbucks
thing is
worker.
that like not everything, and not everything has to be made to be like sent out. And the thing that like I've gotten to know about you, Jason, is that sometimes what you need is to just scream some shit out. You're like kind of a weird black guy where like you wanna get angry and mad and scream and yell, not be docile Carlton. Get out there. Yeah, okay. So I don't do some fucking metal shit, please. Okay.
I've been busting your balls so much that I deserved that.
I mean, I'm just glad Marcus didn't go shooting for me because he has every right to. Say like Sugar Ray.
You guys came after me the whole fucking first 15 minutes. Okay. I was waiting in the dark. All right, for my moment, but okay, we've been here 2 hours now.
Okay, so look, we're gonna leave. We're gonna leave with here because Marcus said this, and he actually had me on his music show, but now his music show is like super big and he's famous from it.
Yeah,
I could come back on there, but that's fine. I get it.
Jason,
Get me early on when no one's watching. Now all of a sudden you have
motherfucker
numbers.
Because we talked about music for an hour. We had a good music show.
6 hours.
And then. And then we talked about politics for 4.5 hours after that. It was a 6-hour show, an hour and a little bit about music, and mostly us just yelling at each other like.
Jason, please tell me
Thanksgiving.
Please tell me you're gonna put Fly on, please.
Oh God.
No, I'm gonna leave you guys with 20. I think this was in 2019. This was in 2019. Maybe this will inspire me to go pick up my guitar. This was my band, Bitter Lake. If you notice, there is no bass player because we tuned so low. And we're so loud, we felt we didn't need one. So enjoy.